Hello and happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS NFL podcast. I'm your host, Katie Mox, here with Will Brinson and the best dressed man on television, CBS draft analyst Emory Hunt. Today is our 2023 NFL Draft 2 preview. Keep it locked with us all week for all of your NFL offseason news. And as always, show us some love for every like, comment, and subscription to the YouTube page or wherever you get your podcasts. Brinson's heart grows 3 times, not unlike the Grinch.
Well, one, that's a lie. Two,
Come on,
like,
Brinson. Come on.
Like,
we need the love.
My heart's full, as always. Bijan Robinson got drafted. You know how I feel about Bijan Robinson? Like Chris Stapleton, joy of my life. I would point out that, when like somebody's like, it's like this show featuring Pete Prisco and others. Like, that's what I feel like I just got there. It's like with Will Brinson and the best dressed man on internet television, Emory Hunt television, like Emory Hunt. Like, now granted, I am wearing a Duck the Band t-shirt, Duck Groove. Shout out to Duck, great band. But yeah, you know what? I give up. Emory's got me smoked when it comes to dress.
Well, one,
What's
I have
up,
a
buddy?
special place in my heart for Mr. Emory Hunt. And every time that he comes on HQ, he has a different suit, a different color, a different pocket square. Like, nobody puts as much effort, but makes it look effortless into fits like Emory Hunt does. So,
and
sorry,
meanwhile, I gave up ties for the pandemic. So,
Yeah, we like it. All right, guys. Well, just to kick things off here, and Brinson, I know because you sent this in our group chat, AB is back, and he would like to return to the Ravens. He posted a picture today on Twitter with a Ravens jersey on, crop top, no less. What do y'all think here? I don't think the Ravens are dumb enough to do this. Antonio Brown.
No chance.
None. Doesn't he own the Albany Empire in the Arena Football League? Like, go be busy with that question.
Yeah, I mean, look, AB is a troll at this point. He's just I think he's probably just sort of throwing it back at the Steelers, throwing something back at the Steelers, trying to get back at, he's holds his grudges. He's been, like the dude, like Tom Brady went out of his way multiple times to like let this guy live with his children and family in his house.
He did? He lived there?
Yes, he's like, oh, AB, just come crash with us at the Brady house. You think Brady got in trouble with his wife or his ex-wife because he went back and played football? It's because he kept bringing Antonio Brown around.
Hello.
I don't know that. I'm just saying, like, that could cause some strain on the relationship. At any rate, I think he's just trolling. I don't know that AB is ever going to play again. And when you see the Ravens drafting Zay Flowers, love Zay Flowers, curious what Emory thinks about him. I'd also, of course, signing Odell Beckham. It's just hard to imagine this being an option this is not John Harbaugh's cup of tea, Emory.
Yeah, nah. And at the end of the day, you look at how the Ravens are built, they need people that are locked in. And so you bring in a Zay Flowers who's super locked in. And Flowers, to me, reminds me so much of Tyreek Hill and how explosive he is in all directions. And you look at getting a potential healthy Odell Beckham Jr., another explosive guy. It's about to be a 4x1 relay out there for the Baltimore Ravens. Basketball on grass, baby. I can't wait.
All right, Emory, last night we recapped the first night of the draft and just had 6 takeaways, 6 takeaways, like what we did there. What were your big takeaways from the draft? Was it the Texans moving to the number 3 spot? Was it the fact that there was 3 quarterbacks taken in the top 4? Was it that Will Levis is still on the board? What would you say some of your biggest takeaways are from last night?
Well, Katie, listen, let's attack this 1, 2, 3, like you just laid it out. Number one, the Texans trading back to get to number 3, that blew my mind from an Arizona perspective. It's like, yo, what are you doing? You have an opportunity to get the best pass rusher in the class, and you bypass that. You no longer have Chandler Jones. You no longer have J.J. Watt. You have Will Anderson, who I think is a clone of Terrell Suggs when he was coming out of Arizona State. You bypass that to get an offensive lineman. Granted, you need O-line help, but this is the number 1 pass rusher in the class, and you bypass that. So that was a big question. The quarterbacks going in the order they didn't surprise me at all, because I've always said this reminded me of the 2017 class with Watson, Mahomes, and I was also a big Deshaun Kaiser fan. So watching these 3, not surprised. Will Levis dropping, that wasn't a surprise to me at all, because there was one dude on CBSSports.com that didn't have Will Levis in his first round mock draft. I don't know who that guy is, but you said he was the best guy in the company. So I saw the precipitous drop for Will Levis, so I'm not surprised. But that Cardinals one was definitely one that shocked me. And I am not surprised that we saw 2 tailbacks go in round 1 because both guys are elite talents, and you take elite talents in round 1.
I just want to follow up on the Levis thing. Pardon me for not seeing it. It's, Ryan Wilson, this junior draft analyst we hired a few months ago, like hogs all the spotlight when it comes to mock drafts. It is 7-rounder, 3-rounder, 42 1-rounder. So I didn't read every mock draft, but I was curious why you had Levis out of the first round, if it was like an injury thing or just a skill thing. And because clearly you were right. And if there's any, anything you can add that I can then throw in Pete Prisco's face, I'm fine with that as well. We were dragging him on text all day long.
Well, for me, it was just a skill thing. It was watching the film and just breaking down Levis's game. I compared him to Daniel Jones, Carson Wentz, and to me, I think he's a solid QB2, someone that you can trust for a 4 to 5 game stretch, but he doesn't have that upside potential that you see guys that go in the first round or guys that should go in the first round. So for me, it was always about the skill. People say go back and check 2021. I did that. It looked just like 2022. The only difference was Wan'Dale Robinson was catching those little touch passes and taking them 60 yards down the field. So I wasn't as impressed with Will Levis. I just felt like he had already reached his potential and reached his ceiling. So to me, that doesn't warrant going in the first round. Same thing for Hendon Hooker. His is age and also injury, but what you see is what you're going to get. And what we saw wasn't that, particularly well.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here. But speaking of that junior draft analyst, how should you feel about your team's latest draft picks? With the First Pick podcast is your source for comprehensive draft coverage and pick breakdowns with CBS Sports draft expert Ryan Wilson and longtime general manager Rick Spielman. Ryan and Rick will recap each day of the draft, dishing out winners and losers from all 7 rounds. And the draft chatter doesn't stop on Saturday. Stay tuned to the show for team-by-team draft grades and an early look at who your team could be eyeing next year. Download and follow the With the First Pick podcast wherever you find this. This is the Pick 6 podcast, and we'll be right back. Back here on the Pick 6 podcast. If you are not following us on social, go ahead and do that now at Pick 6 Pod across all social media platforms. Now we're going to get into what we would like to see happen today. Will Levis is going to get his hat, right, Emory? Where do you see this following day 2 round? Is it the second round? Is it the third round? When is he getting his hat?
It's fascinating because I think last year we saw Pickett in round 1 and then Ritter and Willis in round 3. When you look at the quarterback situation, like who needs a quarterback, especially with the way the first round fell. So I can see round 3, but I feel I can see round 3 again because I know people are pointing to the Vikings or maybe even the Raiders double back and get him. I just try to find a spot for Will Levis and Will Levis's game. And I feel like, he may fall into round 3 because we're going to see a run on O-line, corners, running backs, tight ends, like before we see a Will Levis. And he's not going to go back to round 2, for the draft to be on TV again. I don't blame him. I would have wore the same suit too. Like, you know what? I've been here all night. Like,
I would have been in my duck t-shirt. I'd show up with flops in a t-shirt.
So we'll see. But if I had to pick a spot, let's say in round 2, maybe Minnesota, because you have Kirk Cousins on that 1 year, 1 year left on his contract. So that seems like a good spot for him if you think he is better than Hendon Hooker. But I do feel like the Vikings will be a spot for a quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's really 2 things that are really interesting about what you just said. One, like I think the would you go back for the second day thing is fascinating because clearly his mother was not plussed with the whole waiting through that thing, and like he was turning bright red and blushing, and his agent just kept shaking his head like, sorry bro, nobody is calling us at all, this is a problem. Like they would cut to Levis with the Raiders on there. He's like, yeah, bro, Raiders. He's like, this phone is. He's like doing the thing where you like power your phone down, then power it back up because you're like, maybe it's something with my phone. It's not it's not them, and it's just not the case. I mean, you talked about it, Emory. So Pittsburgh drafted a quarterback. I'm just running through the first round. Pittsburgh drafted a quarterback. Arizona has the Kyler situation. It'd be early for them to try and fix it. And I mean, Levis has got a few things going for him. He'll be fine. The Lions could potentially go with, think about Levis, but I think people don't understand how much they like Jared Goff, and they're trying to win now. Look at what they did in the first round last night. Colts drafted a quarterback. Rams are kind of interesting. Seahawks, Raiders, I think, too, want to win now. Panthers, no. Saints, probably not. The Titans have been really connected to Levis. And then you have the Patriots. There's been a lot of buzz about that. But it's like Belichick's got to win now, too, man. So I think there's a lot of these teams that are trying to win in 2023. And Will Levis doesn't do a whole lot for you if you have a quarterback in place already. So, yeah, maybe third round is possible. That would be wild. And Pete Prisco would be in for a rough one.
A rougher one. All right. What about defensive backs? There's a lot of them left on the board. Seems like there could be a serious run today. How do you think that's going to shape out, Emory?
I think we're going to see a huge run of defensive backs. And I'm glad you said defensive backs, because that's kind of where we're going now. Positionless on the back end, where guys have to be able to cover. So whether it's a corner or a safety, guys have to be able to match up one-on-one, whether on the outside or inside in the slot. So we're going to see a lot of these defenders, defensive backs go on day 2, probably in round 2, because we saw how late a guy like Christian Gonzalez went in the first round. I thought he would have been gone by then, which means you push a lot of other guys out, a lot of lengthy guys. You got both corners from South Carolina, Darius Rush and also Cam Smith. You have even more length on the back end, some more Maryland defenders. So for me, it's going to be a nice run on these guys. Got to rack up on these receivers and defensive backs. And I think we'll see a collection of them go in the second round.
Who do you like out of that group at the top? I mean, obviously Joey Porter Jr. Why do I want to call him Brandon Banks instead of Brian Branch? I don't know. I don't know. Brian Branch. No, for Bama. I just keep thinking Banks in my head for some reason. I don't know why. I also called Anthony Richardson Will Richardson several times yesterday. I'm not sure that's even a person. Maybe he plays like point guard for Oregon or something. I don't know. Anyway, they got draft mush brain going on. But curious, Emory, what you think about this defensive back class, because we saw several of them go. But there's still a lot of talent out there, and I think it had been sort of like a position where people looked at this and said there's a lot of good cornerbacks, but there's also going to be a lot of good cornerbacks in the second round or the second day. And do you think that's unfolding now?
Absolutely. For me, it's about, can you score? Can you take the ball away? And we look at Brian Branch. Every time I look up, 14 is around the football. So for me, that's someone that you want. I thought he would have gone in round 1 because he could play corner. He could play safety. He's like an extension of the coach out there on the field because he's so smart and instinctive. And Darius Rush, listen, not dating back to, when I played ball to where I coached ball to where now we're talking about it. I have never seen a cornerback excel in one-on-one like he did down at the Senior Bowl, catching interceptions. That is impossible to do when you think about how one-on-ones are set up to where it's heavily slanted toward the offensive player, running these mad bohemian routes with all these cuts. And he's locking these guys up, playing great press coverage, and has great ball skills. The reason why, he was a former wide receiver at South Carolina. So think about it. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, long arms, great ball skills, can see defense like an offensive player. Think Richard Sherman. I think this is a dude that's going to be a big-time haul for someone, bringing him in. So I like the fact that we get some of these guys here on day 2, and those are my 2 favorite.
All right. Well, another interesting thing you have on here, a kicker to be drafted before a tight end today.
Whoa. What?
Who wrote that?
It's here on the list.
Oh,
a kicker to be drafted before a tight. Well, okay. So maybe you don't
see
that's
did I write that? I mean, I'm not on much sleep. I'm going to give you that, but I don't think I wrote that. John Breach even said we won't see a kicker drafted. Was I joking about Chris Dunn maybe at NC State?
I'm reading this, guys. Oh, now we're moving on. How?
I will say this though.
Wait, where did I get this then?
Hold
on.
It's from Slack, maybe? I have no idea. I think what we were trying to talk about is maybe
it's in an email. It is in an email, guys. It's
I think what that may be is, and we got one tight end with Dalton Kincaid in the first round. That may be a case of pointing out that the tight end class, which was much ballyhooed and was going to be one of my losers in my winners and losers column or story, which is on CBSSports.com, until I decided to rake Big Mayo over the coals. You put mayo in your coffee, bro, you ain't getting drafted. This tight end class, Emory, we knew we had Kincaid, and then you had Mayer from Notre Dame, Michael Mayer, and you also have Laporta. There's a bunch of really good tight ends that people liked, but I think the over-under was either 1.5 or 2.5 for the first round. We only got Kincaid. Do you foresee a tight end run coming on day 2 or early, late, middle of the round at any point?
I believe we'll see it earlier because we all were under the assumption that maybe there's going to be at least 2 that go in round 1. All we've heard was it's a deep class, and it is a deep class across the spectrum of tight end position, H-back, inline guys that can block and catch, and flex guys that are like your bigger wide receiver type tight ends. There's a bunch of guys across those different positions. So we'll see a lot of those players go in round 2. But here's a part about the tight end position is the fact that as much as we like the idea of drafting these tight ends and thinking about the matchup possibilities, when we're actually watching the game on Sunday, how often do we see tight ends featured? I feel like we only see Travis Kelce. We only see, George Kittle, and everybody else kind of fit in where they get in, right? And so I feel like maybe the league is telling us, hey, yes, we like athletic, very good tight ends, but we kind of want to throw out to the wide receivers as well, too. We want to throw out to them a lot. So I think we'll see a bunch maybe going in the middle part of round 2 to the early parts of round 3, because there are a ton of very good options out there still waiting to be selected.
It's interesting too, because with the tight ends, he's like, well, you just toss that athletic tight end out there, he's going to produce for you. It's like Kyle Pitts set the rookie record for receiving yards, and everyone was like, thought Kyle Pitts was a massive bust because of fantasy football purposes. He only had 1 touchdown that year and then 2 last year. It's just one of those things where it's a difficult position to acclimate. I mean, every position is hard to acclimate to the NFL, but tight end is particularly tough because you're not just lining out and learning a route tree. You're becoming part of the offense. You're learning that route tree as well. And you also have to figure out, how to block. And you have to have the, run blocking for receivers is a thing too, of course. But correct me if I'm wrong, Emory. You have to, you've got to if you're a tight end, and Kyle Pitts is a little different, but if you're a tight end, you're Michael Mayer's got to learn everything about the Cowboys offense in sort of a dual functionality kind of way versus, so I think it makes it a little bit tougher maybe to acclimate.
Yeah, we used to tell tight ends, you're a offensive tackle that they like to
an extension of the line. Yeah, exactly.
So don't get it twisted. You just barely got an 80 number. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it's like when you're a tight end. You got to block first. Otherwise, you're probably not going to get on the field.
When you're talking about these tight ends, I obviously want the 49. I mean, I know we need a D lineman, and I know we're going to get some O linemen because now McGlinchey is gone. But I really like Darnell Washington for the 49ers. I do see some similarities between him and Kittle. He's a big body. He's good at run blocking, pass protection, maybe not as good at catching the ball, but Kittle didn't test that well when he went out either. Do you think that Darnell Washington would be a good fit for the 49ers? And do you think that they'll take him with one of their 3 picks here in the 3rd round?
Possible, because he's one of the better blockers in a class too. There was one game I was watching with Washington that just had me dying laughing. It was, I've never seen someone start the rep at defensive end and end up at outside corner. Like, bro, where's your pride? Don't let him push you all the way across the field. Like, goodness. So, but when you see someone that big able to rake somebody up out the paint, that tells you, okay, he can play right now in the run game. And he could kind of play off of a Kittle. So when you get an inline guy and you have an athletic guy that you want to move around and get in the route, guys like Washington, guys like Mayer, are perfect tight ends. And Washington, because think about the best thing that happened for him was watching Jelani Woods of the Indianapolis Colts have success, because he's another one that's 6'15", right? That just gets down the field. He's the tallest dude in the stadium. And that's what Washington is. A lot of people are just not going to want to tackle him if you run him down the seam. And if you do that just on a clear out, you got guys like Kittle that can go underneath and have success. So, yeah, that would be the type of guy I can see San Francisco going to get.
Well, the thing about Kittle, too, that I don't think people understand is he's a great receiving tight end. He's fantastic with the ball after he gets it in his hands. But he is the fulcrum point for the 49ers offense, because everything flows off of run plays that then become similar looking play action plays or misdirection plays. And Kittle, because of his ability as a blocker and as a receiver and how good he is at blocking and then releasing and getting out as a receiver, basically helps disguise those for the 49ers. And so I would imagine you've got Kyle Shanahan constantly on the lookout for Kittle's not young, he's not old, but constantly on the lookout for someone who can, be that fulcrum point for him in the future.
Well, and Kittle's a little injury prone. I feel like he sits out pretty much every season for a short amount of time. And this guy could double as an O lineman, a 6-0 lineman there. So I absolutely love that. Okay, guys, we're going to take a quick break. You're watching the Pick Six, and we'll be right back.
Phenomenal! Absolutely magisterial here! Artilharia do Campeonato Brasileiro! Gol, Brinson, gol!
Welcome back to the Pick Six Podcast. I'm Katie Mox here with Brinson and Emory. Today is our Day 2 2023 NFL Draft Preview. Make sure you join us all week long for more NFL offseason news. And remember to like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page. All right, Emory. I had a little draft trivia for the guys earlier this week, and they absolutely smoked me. They knew everything within like 5 seconds. So I've tried a little bit harder.
We did have like 40 years of combined NFL coverage. Like if we failed that, it would have been pretty embarrassing.
Okay. But also, that's true. That's true. But I also know that, Emory writes a freaking book every single
Fully
year.
prepared to fail today, by the way. Fully prepared.
Well, I tried to make it a little bit harder. Okay. I tried to make it a little bit harder. There are 5 questions on here. The first one is, what is the only team to have had 4 first-round picks in a single draft? You already know it.
The Jets.
That is true. It is the 2000 Jets. All right, extra
I was
credit
gonna
here
say too.
because I knew you guys would get this one. Can you name the 4 players drafted, Emory?
Anthony Beck, Chad Pennington.
Yep.
He played Sean Ellis.
Yes, one more.
Boom, 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 boom.
You could lifeline to Will if you need to.
Please.
Will, give me a lifeline.
The fourth guy. Do we know what?
Okay.
Give me a position. I need. Give me. I get a
I'm reaching out for you. You the lifeline, like.
Well, it was the number.
You got the
It was
first
the
3
number.
on me.
It was the number 13, and his first name starts with a J. His last name starts with an A.
I think that like made it harder or something.
I know, right?
Okay, hold on. Let me see. What
Jay.
Oh,
All I can think is Jared Allen, and that's not the answer, obviously. Number 13
John
overall.
Abraham.
Oh, crap.
wow,
That's
from
bad.
South Carolina,
That's
yeah.
All right,
I
well, good. I got one on y'all.
I
Okay.
should have gotten you that one. I'm sorry, Emory. That's
I hit you up for a lifeline. You actually question like
you do. I almost acted like I was going to pretend like my browser crashed, honestly, and like just bail out of here.
3 out of 4 is not bad. All
That's
right,
on me. I take that L.
I feel like you guys are going to get this one very soon too. Okay, which team had its time expired during
Minnesota
its
Vikings.
Yeah.
That is okay. So who is the team that they were trying to do a trade with, when the time expired?
I want to say the. I
I thought it was the Bears or the Rams. One of those two.
Bears.
It is the Baltimore Ravens.
I was going to say. I said you heard me start with an R. Right?
I know. I thought you were going to get it. I thought you were going to get
a
it.
little bit. And the player that they who did they end up drafting?
Wasn't it O-lineman?
Was it the late Corey Stringer?
Huh? That's that. We would have you would have stumped us on that one too.
Wow.
I heard somebody.
You guys are getting the first ones quick. Okay, so what year did the Steelers draft 4 Hall of Famers?
72.
Okay, it was 72. Can you name the 4 Hall of Famers?
Gary Bradshaw.
No, Liz
No,
was
not.
John Stallworth.
Yeah.
Was it LC Greenwood or no?
Nope.
All right, so I got the 2 receivers right.
Yep.
It was Mel Blunt in it?
Nope.
All right, so
Mean Joe Green.
Nope.
Nah, he was before them.
I mean,
So,
I'm just lobbing out Steelers.
Jack Lambert.
Yes.
Ooh,
one more.
Yeah, I'm done. I got
Mike
3.
Webster.
Mike the center, right?
Mike
Kevin
Webster.
Williams was the pick for the Vikings, by the way.
Kevin Williams, yeah, from Oklahoma State, yeah.
All
He's a
right.
beast.
Who held the first overall pick in 1997? I could give you the teams if you need them.
No,
No.
feel like this is a setup. This is a trick question. I want to say it was the Houston Oilers.
Do you got to guess, Will?
Is it Houston? I'm not going to get. If he's right, don't make me guess a wrong one.
I just want to see if everybody.
I
see what everybody
feel like
says.
97 was the. Was that not when they drafted the 2 Penn State guys up top?
Oh, you talking about Washington? No, that was 99.
I want to say the Colts, but
It is the St. Louis Rams.
Dang.
Oh,
It was the St. Louis Rams. All right. And then here's the last
Who
and final one.
do they take?
Pace, right?
Oh, Pace. Yeah.
Okay. O.J. Simpson was the first overall selection in 1971. True or false?
False.
I
Brinson?
was going to make a quibble joke, but that's probably
Brinson?
True.
It is false. Do you know what year it was, Emory?
Oh, it wasn't the
68, right?
that was
What?
I
Was it-
thought
It was
like
not
a-
1971. What year was O.J. Simpson the first overall?
68.
69,
See,
1969.
that's an unfair true or false because there's multiple components to it. It could be like false, he was a second overall pick, or false, it was a different year.
Well,
Here's
it's
the thing. In
false.
71, it was Plunkett, Manning, and Prosarski.
All right. Well, point mocks here because I actually was able to kind of stump you guys in a very, very small manner.
Those were good.
Those
were
are good.
good.
You
All
got
right,
like
good for
some
me.
good stumps.
Okay. All
Look,
right.
again, my brain is mush today. Emory is smarter than I am, and he killed us.
Pastorini was the other guy. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, you're a football encyclopedia, as we all know. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us today. We are back next week at 1 p.m. On your way out, do us a solid, like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube page. If you're listening to audio only, make sure that you do the same. Download, follow, leave a 5-star review, and tell your friends to listen and watch the pod. We'll see you next week.